Welcome into Sports Betting with Donnie, presented by rightwager.com. Welcome to the show, good people out there. This is Sports Betting with Donnie for Friday, July 24th, episode number 2. I'm your host, of course, Donnie Seymour, Donnie Rightside, whoever you want to say, at Rightside VP on Twitter. Thank you for joining us yesterday. It was a fun show, going over some technical difficulties yesterday and just sitting and saying, you know what? I think the show's going to work out, and we are going to do some really good things. Yesterday, interesting Major League Baseball finally got their season underway. We'll hit those, topics in just a few moments. But, hey, just as an overall preview, or I should say review, of what took place yesterday, it was nice. I had a really nice day, opened up. Show went off without hitches. Everything looks like it came off, audio-wise and video-wise fine. Got a nice little lunch in between. Then we hit it hard on sportsbookreview.com and went over yesterday's 2 games, set up a season, which is going to be a lot of fun to do on Sportsbook Review with Jason Radowitz. We had a good time yesterday going over the Yankees game and also the late night game between the Dodgers and the San Francisco Giants. Quick sprint through 30 minutes. We'll probably extend that show out maybe another 10, 15 minutes just to make sure it rolls along and goes according to plan. But, when we're talking about 14, 15 games that are a possibility, it's going to take some time to break those games down, but it's a lot of fun. A lot of people came out to watch the show, commented, liked, and retweeted. I do appreciate that. So if you're watching it live, I do thank you for that. If you're watching us on the replay, I do thank you as well. And if you can do us a favor here, see that subscribe button down there. 386 people have done so on this channel. We're trying to build this and take it into this new millennium and produce some pretty good chats and some pretty good topics and also some nice rants on the morning show here with Sports Betting with Donnie. So hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell. Every time I go live on this channel, you get it delivered to your inbox. You can come in and say hello in the chat box. Also, if you're watching out there on Facebook Live, congratulations. You actually know how to log into Facebook, which I barely am able to do, and also shooting live on Periscope now, which is a very, very cool tool. And I know when we go live, it does a little promo that I set up for Facebook, but also, with YouTube, but also strings over to the Periscope crowd with nice little retweets. So if you're online, hit the like button, hit the heart on Twitter, get a repeat. Let's grow the show. And maybe down the line, we'll add some guests. But for right now, we'll keep it the way it is with just me here riding a solo mission Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. And again, this is only the second show we've done here. It is a Friday. We're leading into the weekend, an exciting weekend. If you took a look yesterday, for the first time, I was actually watching a little bit of NBA action on the court, trying to see how that whole visual concept is actually taking place down in Orlando. It looks pretty cool. Looks like the players are having fun and getting along. And then obviously with Major League Baseball yesterday, finally seeing the games count for real. And we're certainly going to get into a quick review of those 2 basketball games as well. So hello, welcome in. Let's get it started, man. I love my hot topics. You do. These are your Sports Betting with Donnie hot topics of the day. All right, Yanks win a rain-shortened game yesterday, as we saw down in Washington, D.C. And this is going to meld into 2 topics. I had a separate topic I wanted to get into, which we'll keep that one separate for just a few moments here. But just talking about the game getting back to normal and getting back to play. You saw yesterday, if you tuned in, I guess maybe about 5 or 6 minutes before the game. Game was scheduled to start at 7 o'clock. I believe it started at 7:05, which is usually typical for an East Coast game. But as we were watching the game unfold, then about 6:55 Eastern time, it came in. They did took a knee around the field with both the Washington Nationals and also the New York Yankees. There was like a black, I didn't have the sound actually on, but there was like a black strip, or I guess a black shroud that they were holding around the field. Then they all stood up for the national anthem, and we played baseball yesterday. And I got to tell you, there wasn't a lot of things that I actually questioned about that baseball game yesterday between the Yankees and the Nationals. And the interesting part that came up before that game, or a few hours before the game, was Juan Soto tested positive for COVID-19. Now, he's had a couple tests even after he tested positive, I believe, a couple days ago. But by the time they got the sample back, they did do rapid testing and actually came back negative. So he's going to have to go through a few negative tests before he can return back to the baseball field. But he is asymptomatic. And I think that is, of course, always the most important thing. A young adult, what was he, like 20, 21 years old last year? So probably still roughly the same age, 22, I don't know, somewhere in that range. But he should be able to get fine. And in a 60-game sprint, you're going to need your best player back. But even when we were breaking down the game yesterday, and you looked at the overall lineup for the Washington Nationals, and you're like, boy, they won the World Series last year, because there's no Harper in the lineup anymore. Obviously moved on to the Philadelphia Phillies over a year ago. And then just in this offseason, Anthony Rendon left to go out to play for the LA Angels. And you're looking at this lineup, man, there's not a lot of pop, some aging guys. And you try to, the Carter Keybooms of the world. Oh, right, Trey Turner. I love Trey Turner because he's a speed demon out there. He gets on first base. He's like Billy Hamilton, steal second base, steal third base, but he could basically score from a single while he's on first base if he gets a good jump on it. He's amazing. But looking at the overall lineup, and you're saying, this is what the preface is going to be for Major League Baseball as we move throughout the season. And what you're looking at here is elite level pitching. Still looks like it's probably going to be elite level pitching as we move through. But some of these teams with below average lineups, and yes, the Washington Nationals lineup without Juan Soto is a below average lineup. So they got one nice swing of the bat in the first inning by Adam Eaton to make it 2-1 after an absolute bomb by Giancarlo Stanton in the first inning to make it 2-0 in the top of the first. They weren't even getting any good swings on Garrett Cole. And Garrett Cole's paid to do that. I mean, he's one of the elite pitchers in Major League Baseball over the last decade. And he showed it last night. A little bit early on, grooving stuff down the middle of the plate was a little wild at times. But, through 6 innings, and they called it a complete game, which I do think is hilarious. I thought he was really locked in. Now, is that Washington Nationals lineup going to be able to produce against those number 2 and number 3 pitchers is going to be the question for the Nationals as the season moves on. Do I think Max Scherzer, who didn't have a very good game, and again, we're saying like he didn't have a very good game, got lit up from a standpoint of, giving up some base hits, some home runs. It's not what we're used to seeing out of Max Scherzer, but having said that, in his tune-up start against the Philadelphia Phillies in his exhibition, he got lit up over the first 2 innings and got lit up over the first part of this game tonight. Is that a precursor to what we're going to see for the rest of the year from the Washington Nationals is the question that you're going to have. But getting back to the Yankees itself, look at the disparity between the two teams. And we're talking about a team, if you just showed somebody who had no idea who won last year or any success that any team had last year, and you just looked at opening day and you said, one of these teams won the World Series last year, 9 out of 10, maybe 9.9 out of 10, would have chosen the New York Yankees. The lineup is stacked. Frontline pitching is very good. The bullpen is stacked. And in the league now where you can eliminate the DH in the National League when, as you saw last night, when the Yankees go to the National League, it usually hurts them because a pitcher comes up to the plate who's not used to being a pitcher. And if, you're having Garrett Cole in the mound, it's a close game and he has 88 pitches, you might have to pull him because you need a pinch hitter, because you need a run. That's not the case across Major League Baseball now, all the way through from National League to American League. So the teams with those huge payrolls and big boppers that you can hide and don't have to play the field, they're going to really do some damage. So a 4-1 win by the Yankees. And quite frankly, if you are Max Scherzer, you're happy that game ended. So, well, it hurts his ERA. You only get to pitch, 6 innings or whatever. Those first and third with 1 out, they were tattooing him for even more runs at that point. So he got a complete game, which is always fun. Like, hey, look at the season last year. Look at how many complete games he had. That's funny that actually gets counted as a complete game. But it was really a never in doubt type of game from the start. And also when you saw when the lines opened up when we talked to him yesterday morning, minus 125, minus 130 in that range, Juan Soto goes out of the lineup, and then they ballooned to 150 and 160 range. And I know a lot of people out there, when we talk about value and what actually makes sense in these games, it's pretty hard to look at it and say, I'm going to get, Max Scherzer on the mound for like plus 135, plus 140, or even take him over the first 5 innings where just Cole and Scherzer lined up where he can dominate. I mean, what do you have, like 11 strikeouts last night through 5 innings and got torched? It's amazing when you look at how hit or miss it is for the batters and the new, team launch angle we'll talk about in a little bit later with the Los Angeles Dodgers, that the game can change at any moment because all of these guys can go yard, and that's what they're shooting for. Groove a fastball over the plate. They ain't missing it. Look at Giancarlo Stanton, 459 feet in the first inning off Max Scherzer. Groove a pitch. These guys are slamming it. That's what they're taught. Grip and rip. Guerrilla-style baseball. Get in there, get jacked, and swing as hard as you can. And it paid off for the Yankees. And they're going to have a really good season this year, obviously being the favorite in the AL East to win. But now when you're taking a look overall, Juan Soto out of the lineup, let's just say he's out for, 5 games until he's able to test negative a few times and get back into the lineup. They might be behind the 8 ball playing the New York Yankees, the Philadelphia Phillies. And again, you can't start slow. I told you guys on the show yesterday when we're talking about the NFL, when you start 0-2, right? You can't start 1-5 in a 60-game season in Major League Baseball. You're going to be behind the 8 ball, especially in a competitive division. If somehow the Dodgers started 1-5 or the Yankees started 1-5, maybe they can climb that ladder throughout the season and get back into where they need to be to win the division. But obviously you don't want that start. But now, sort of a reprieve that came out yesterday, and I didn't have this in an actual topic, but just talking about it, Major League Baseball extending the playoffs to 16 teams Now, keep in mind in Major League Baseball, there's 30 teams total. So more than half the league is going to make the playoffs. Now, some of the old guys I see and some of the purists out there, look, we're both going to have our opinions both ways, right? And that's the great part about Twitter, the great part about social media and doing games. When you're looking at, I like it this year specifically because I'm a gambler, number one, a Phillies fan, number two. If you got 16 teams getting in 8 teams per league, the bottom feeders are going to find their way to the door and not make it. But that shows yesterday when you said, boy, it's going to be a really tough way to win the division in the NL East because all these teams are going to be beating on each other, the New York Mets, the Nationals, the Braves, and the Phillies. This opens the door for them where it's not so much as a rush because you do get better seating and, better advantages playing at home, even though there might not be any crowd, that when you go into the playoffs, hey, as long as you're there, you're in the dance, you can win. Anything can happen. And I always talk about the Nationals lining up those big three. As long as Max Scherzer gets back right, they have 3 guys that if you're in a short series or even a 7-game series, they can really put the screws to you. Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin, 1, 2, 3, bang, 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 and put a decent bullpen behind it. You can win anything. So now just getting to the playoffs is key. So some of these teams that theoretically get off to a slow start before yesterday said, boy, we're really behind the 8 ball. Now get a little bit of a reprieve as we go through, which is good because I hope the Phillies make the playoffs. And again, the players want revenue, and the way they get revenue and Major League Baseball is more teams get in the playoffs. You can sell more playoff games to the networks, and maybe by October, November, you can fit some guys in the stands. So I know the players, I believe, are guaranteed like $50 million for the playoff structure that they have. They'll willingly take that. So a nice little playoff share for them because, again, it's always about money, just about over everything, even safety at times as well. But we're going to keep it moving here and get down to the second game last night. That was, I wasn't really, what's funny? I usually don't stay, if I don't have any wagers really on the game. We did a show yesterday. I actually like the Nationals and the Yankees to say under 4 with the first 5 innings. Obviously 1 run too short for me as they went over that number. Didn't expect Max Scherzer to get lit up in the second game. I like the Dodgers team total over 5. I mean, team launch angle can get after it at any time. And that was a microcosm of what you saw last night between the Dodgers and the Giants. Johnny Cueto's out there doing his, hitches and stutter steps and quick pitches. And it caught the Dodgers off guard. But again, we're talking about the new National League where there's no outs in the lineup for the Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw's not coming up to pitch, coming up to hit. Walker Buehler's not coming up to hit. May is not coming up to hit. And you put Kike Hernandez as the 9th hitter? The dude had 5 RBIs last night. How stacked are the Dodgers? There's no outs. And even when I'm looking at that game overall going, boy, they're blowing it here. Like we're going through the first inning, second inning, 1 run to the 7th, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, team launch angle wakes up and starts pounding the baseball all over the yard. 8 runs, an 8-1 win. And again, looking at that game felt the same way as looking at the previous game. Now look, Johnny Cueto is not the pitcher, obviously, that Max Scherzer is. But the question is, look at the lineup differences. The Yankees lineup versus that Nationals lineup. The Dodgers lineup versus whoever the heck was playing for the San Francisco Giants. And shout out Gabe Kapler, looking like his team, obviously undermanned to begin with, but playing terrible fundamental baseball. That's what we saw in Philadelphia. A guy completely over his head in the major leagues. I mean, that guy's embarrassing. And I don't know how he got another job. But then again, we were laughing at going back and forth with, Chip Kelly and how he came to Philadelphia and just was a hard head and didn't know what he was doing and was cutting Deshaun Jackson, trading LaShawn McCoy, one of the best running backs, if not at the time, the best running back in the NFL, for Kiko Alonso coming off an ACL injury. And he was one of the draft All-Oregon players. You get some of these guys that filter their way up in the spots. And even though at first, I'll give them a chance, you realize quickly they're pretty much overmatched. And having said that, Chip Kelly actually won an NFC East division championship. And then the second year won 10 games as well. And then the third game didn't make it to the end of the season and was fired. But you have to have some smarts around you with baseball. Gabe Kapler's in way over his head. I don't know. Maybe his views on life, and he's always happy-go-lucky, and he only eats pistachio ice cream, but when he eats the ice cream, he spits it out because he only wants to have the flavor of the ice cream because he doesn't want the calories. Because if you haven't seen him in his leopard bikini, glamour shots for Playgirl or Cheetah magazine or whatever it is, I don't even know. It's crazy. It's crazy when you take a look at it. But those Dodgers, minus 500 as they opened up the season yesterday to win the division. And also an interesting point in that game, too, Clayton Kershaw. Here's how talented the Dodgers are, right? Clayton Kershaw goes on the DL yesterday, game 1. And they just put in a quote-unquote spot start out of May. He's throwing 100 and painting the black. Good Lord, those Dodgers, man. I'm telling you, those Dodgers are loaded for bear, and it should be really interesting to see how the season plays out and who can catch them. But again, it's nice. I got to tell you, it's really nice that Major League Baseball came to its mindset and said, you know what? We're going to let more teams in specifically because we need to get that revenue up. And we completely understand that. There's no question about it. Nobody's going to fight with that. These leagues need to make money. The players need to make money, and nothing's going to go against that there. We'll be back in 1 minute right here with some comments from rightwager.com. Hey guys, Donnie here with rightwager.com, your handicapping home on the internet. As you know, we specialize in NFL, Major League Baseball, and NCAA hoops. And as always, we are 100% verified on third-party CapperTech.com. If you are a gambler, this is your place to be. Affordable packages, 1 day, 7 days, 30 days, 6 months, and even up to a year. Also, when you stop by the site, you'll notice sports content right here with the live broadcast home of Sports Betting with Donnie. There is no better place to be in the handicapper community than rightwager.com. And as always, I like to say, what side are you on? All right, rightwager.com. You know it's the place to be on the internet. And you know it's my company, giving out picks and trying to help the good people out there win some money. As you know, my baseball season usually is delayed, much like my NFL season, my college basketball season. I like to get all the stats in-house before I offer any packages or plays. People know that August the 15th will start my baseball season. Donnie, it's almost going to be over by then. It doesn't matter if it's over by then. Would you rather lose money over the first couple weeks, or would you rather wait it out when we have all the stats in line and we can pepper Major League Baseball just like we did last year, just like we did NCAA basketball? Wait, get the stats, and then we'll release it. Back to some hot topics here. Washington has been in the news, guys. Washington has been in the news. You saw last night, yay, Washington. Fauci throwing out the first pitch. Everything looks great. Hey, we're going to have a little bit of fun with that and see what we do. The Washington football team has now taken center stage, people. Amazing. Their team is the Washington football team. I know myself, and I put out a video yesterday, shout out to pubsportsradio.com, on what my thoughts were going to be on the Washington football team and how ridiculous it is. You could sit in a room, my daughter's 8 years old, in her class, 15 kids, 20 kids, I don't know, whoever it is. Put them in a circle. Ask them a name of what the Washington football team should be. They'd all give answers, and 5 minutes later they would vote, and they would have the name. The giraffes, the snakes, they probably would pick the Pikachus, something like that, right? But real easy. Like, hey, guys, this team used to be the Redskins, and now this team is the Washington football team, and we got to come out and we got to find a name. I'm just dumbfounded at how you can run. It's amazing because if you're born into money, or if you made your money smartly and just decided to get in, right? Get into the old boys network in the NFL, in the NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey, whatever it might be, outside maybe the WNBA, where they probably don't make any money for their owners. You can do whatever you want. You can run your organization into the ground. You can win nothing. The fans can hate you. You strip your stadium down like FedEx Field did in the upper deck because you can't sell those seats anymore, and you don't want to run up against the actual guidelines where they would black you out in Washington. You can lose money basically from the stadium and still print at the end of the day. That TV contract money comes in, covers all your bills, and puts a ton of chunk in your wallet before you even sell a single ticket, beer, or actual parking pass. And that's what's going on down in Washington. You're telling me right now, they've been fighting with the Washington Redskins name for almost 10 years now, legitimately from the Native American standpoint. You don't think they were dumb enough not to ever even have a once every 6 month meeting saying, hey, they're going to protest against us, and this is going to be interesting to see, and what's going to take place here. Why don't we have some backup names that we can file away on a patent just to have it? Daniel Snyder's got all the money in the world. Hey, look, send your PR guy onto a telephone with the patent office and say, I have these 150 names I would like to buy for $15,000. And just keep them in a file. Nobody has to know anything about it. Put it under your shell company who bought those names. But instead, he lags. And Little League football teams, Little League baseball teams are buying the name from the Washington Redskins right out from underneath them, the Warriors, whatever it will be. They're all snapping it up. You got adjunct professors buying stuff for the Washington Redskins so they can't change their name. So now you come out in the room and you still know what you need to do, and you can't do it. There's hundreds of names still left out there where Daniel Snyder can change it very simply. And don't give me the nonsense from the Washington Redskins football team that they can't make changes before the season starts. You're telling me I'm seeing statues come down in the middle of the night, but somehow the Redskins can't pull a sign off FedEx Field? A $1 billion company whose owner or minority owner is from FedEx. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's like FedEx Kinkos that are known for making signs and doing it quickly, right? We don't have enough time. There's no way that we could change things from the Bears or the Redskins or the Dolphins. We can't change names that quick. I even heard Adam Schefter say yesterday, it could take 18 to 24 months most of the time for NFL teams to make a uniform change or a name change. Are you kidding me? Like, dude, are you kidding? Like, really? Are we kidding ourselves? This is a $1 billion empire that at the stroke of a check can give somebody a signing bonus or a contract with a guarantee of $75 million overnight. And you can't change that. You change it to the Washington football team, and that's probably going to sit for the year. Instead of sitting down, or even, you know what, you can ingratiate yourself to Washington. You know, you ingratiate yourself to the actual fan base in Washington. It's pretty simple. It really is. Give it a vote. The Tideland region down there, right? Newport News, all of them. White, black, Asian, green, yellow, who cares? All your fans, even it open up to the world, which then again, you probably get the nonsense people like me as an Eagles fan voting for just some nonsense name out there. But your true fans, put a vote up. What do you guys want this team? This is your team, Washington. Look, I'm the steward. I'm the owner of the team. But this team has gone back, close to 100 years with the name Redskins. This is your team. What do we name it? We're going to take the Redskins off the mantle. What do we call it here? And they would come up with a name they would vote on, have a great unveiling before the season starts. And again, just being facetious, the Washington Warriors, the team. This is my fans voted on this. This is the new wave. No longer the Redskins. We're going to move into the next millennium of this football team. The Warriors, we're going to honor our past, but we recognize the changes that need to be made. I don't know, King. I'll see you right there. What would you call them? I don't know, to be honest with you. I thought the Warriors was great. But there's so many things that mean, like, I don't want to see it like go overboard. We're just trying to placate and just, make some noise. Leave it up to your fans. They'll let you know what's true. How many times you're sitting there, if you're a Lakers fan or a Clippers fan or an Eagles or whoever, the team comes up with a whack uniform. I remember the Eagles came out opening day one year and played the Green Bay Packers, and they looked like the Los Angeles Lakers or the Minneapolis Lakers. I'm saying, like, nobody wanted this. No fans wanted this. But if you put it to a vote, everybody would have voted for the Kelly Greens, which they came out a couple years later in the infamous, like what I like to call the Michael Vick game, which was awesome, which got him back in. Oh, my God, look how fast Michael Vick is again. And the Eagles were off and running that season. Put it up to the fans, man. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. Now, the team's going to stink this year, I still think. But the Washington football team is hilarious. And shout out to the Washington football team players, Dwayne Haskins and, Ryan Kerrigan, and whoever's out here saying, oh, man, fire uniforms. Come on, man. Look like Central Michigan Chippewas out there is what they're coming to be. And by the way, just name the Chippewas, right? Central Michigan, they got a good standing with the Native Americans up there, and they call them the Chippewas. They have a good relationship. Why not the Washington Chippewas or something like that? But it's just amazing to see how, these guys make all this money. No matter what they do, they're running rampant. It's Animal House in the front office with Washington, D.C., with their football team. Animal House. 15 people suing them. We're stroking big checks. And the owner just comes out. We're going to make a change for better. They don't lose any money. They're going to lose the name of their team and have 15 lawsuits and all that bad press, and they're going to make even more money this year. And you know what? They're not going to have any fans in the stands. NFL teams are still going to make money. That's how crazy that business is. Print money. Do whatever you want. Now, leading into the next team that has a change, right? Seattle got a hockey team, in case anybody still follows the NHL out there, right? I love the NHL. I love the Flyers. Been a Flyers fan my entire life. Sort of fallen off a little bit over the years because obviously the Flyers weren't as good as they were a decade or so ago. But when we take a look overall, the Seattle Kraken, 2021 NHL expansion team up in Seattle, the Kraken, I don't have a problem with it. You guys have a problem with that when you see it? Like anybody out there, Twitter, Paris, does anybody have a problem when they see the Kraken as the actual team, huh? I don't have a problem with it. They did a nice, cool promo. Look how cool it was, right? Everybody, preview video. I'm excited. If you're fans in Seattle and you're waiting for your hockey team, yeah, look, we got a name. Well, the Kraken have a name. They're not even playing for another 2 years about in the NHL. And they have a name. But Washington's sitting out here being like, we don't have a name. We don't have anything. But I think the Kraken is all right. The boy Drake's checking in. A singular team name. There you go. The Kraken. Not bad. We'll see how it plays out. And again, I don't like to take the barometer right away because I'm a hater. You guys know me. I'm a hater. Like, I am a hater of everything in life. Equal opportunity hater. Like, doesn't matter what race you are, I'm going to equal opportunity hate on you. I don't even care, like, what football team you are, I'm going to hate on you. An umpire, I'm going to hate on you. A baseball team, I'm going to hate on you. My family, I'm going to hate on you. That's just the way I am in life. Like, the negative comes out in me. So when I see, like, the Seattle Kraken come out, my first thing is like, that's so stupid. I'm like, wait a second, man. That's my hater's ball coming out in me. And then I see the uniforms, like, that's so stupid. And then I think about it for a second. I'm like, you know what? It's not that bad. The Seattle Kraken isn't that bad of a name. But I wanted to put that right behind the Washington football name because there's somehow we can't find a name. There's no way we can actually find a name. But then yet the Seattle Kraken are finding names left and right. Now look, let's have a little bit of fun because I do want to hit for at least a couple minutes on some thoughts on the Major League Baseball card today. But again, we're throwing lawn darts in baseball early in the season. You're expecting things to happen that probably aren't going to happen. But then again, unless you have a really bad lineup, you're not going to hit good pitching. That usually, pulls through. Dr. Fauci's first pitch yesterday, man. Like, look, I don't mean to demean people, right? I don't mean to make fun of anybody, even though I really do mean to make fun of people. But I was half watching the pitch, and I looked up, and I was like, what just happened there? So, most of us have DVRs, and, I have Xfinity, so you just hit the rewind button. I mean, he didn't practice any of that. And they were covered for, look, he's dealing with a lot more issues than throwing the ball. But how many times, like, I know there's some guys out here that are ballers, right? Playing basketball or maybe even play like softball in like a local league or a beer league or who knows what you did. Maybe you played college ball, high school ball. Maybe somebody watching on the replay or in the chat box actually watched or actually played professional ball. It's not that hard to throw a ball, man. It's not. Like, I see, like, at Eagles tailgates, fat drunk dudes just ripping off 20-yard strikes on, like, out passes, playing, like, street football in the middle of tailgates. How come everybody that comes up and throws a baseball, we put a tennis ball in your hand, right? Put a baseball in your hand. Put a golf ball in your hand. Like, is it that bad? Like, can you imagine? Like, let's see, Driggs, Taylor H., King Rail, Drexler, crazy ball head out there. If we went out in the front yard, right? Or even at a family barbecue, confirmation, communion, high school graduation, somebody in the backyard's got a ball. Like, we're bored. Like, guys, we're bored at these things. Like, yeah, we want to eat. We want to, drink something, maybe smoke something and sit back and relax. But as the afternoon goes on, one of your uncles, one of your cousins, one of your brother-in-laws, one of your friends is going to find a ball in somebody's backyard or in the house. And it's like the dog whistle, right? Like, oh, man, he's got that football ready. Yo, throw it to me over here. Like, that would be like saying you're in the backyard, I don't know, 50 feet away, 40 feet away, and you got the football. Now, look, you didn't warm up. I played college football, high school football, and even take me out of the equation. Like, I'm not out throwing the football every day in, like, my backyard with my daughter or my wife. I can't even tell you the last time I threw a football. But I got to tell you one thing. Like, we're not, like, throwing the ball and I'm launching it over the fence. or I'm hitting my man cooking the barbecue over here to the left. Really? I mean, serious on that, right? Like, how come you say, like, because I remember the one that I even love even more, Rap fans, Mets fans, you'll know it. One of the worst ones of all time, maybe still the worst one, was the 50 Cent pitch up at Citi Field. I was saying, man, look, looks like he's in the gym, obviously talented music-wise, lyrically, and he can't throw the ball, like, just in a lot. Like, I don't even need you to throw a strike. I don't even need you to throw a pitch that hits right here. But it's got to be, like, somewhere. Like, come on, man. And you're not even just showing up to the game. They're helping you out. You're going below deck at Citi Field where the batting cages are, and you're getting that arm loose for like 10 minutes before you go out there, right? Get the kinks out. Hey, I haven't thrown a baseball in a while. Hey, have a nice catch for me right here. And then they go out to the field and they do that. And most of them don't even go from the actual mound to throw the pitch. Most don't even go to the mound to throw the pitch. They go in front of the mound and they still can't throw a strike. And look, he's an older gentleman, and I don't wish any ill will on anybody. But when I say stuff like that, I'm like, dude, you knew you were probably throwing that out for at least a week. You come home, like, yeah, you're putting in the time. You're looking at statistics. You're trying to heal the world of COVID-19 and the coronavirus. Go in the backyard with Aunt May or Uncle Rudy and throw a couple pitches back there. Come on, man. Craziness. But by the way, just wanted to include this as well. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Major League Union expands the playoffs hours before the season starts. And I know we just talked about like what it actually means, where the playoffs are going to take place, more teams are going to make it. Old heads hate it for some reason. I don't know. But if my team makes the playoffs or was on the board of making the playoffs is now in, it's a good thing for me. I don't think it ruins the game whatsoever. And, well, the Yankees worked really hard to win the division, and now they get beat by the – well, then don't get beat by the AC when you get in the playoffs, all right? Simple as that, right? But the fact that it took place hours before the season, like, even like when we took a look at gamblers, like you're trying to set up season win totals and team totals, right? And you're trying to see like, well, this team's probably going to be out of it or might be out of it by late in the season. Will they really try? Just about every team in Major League Baseball now, it seems like probably 2 weeks before the season closes might still be mathematically in it. So everybody's going to be trying. So even with those teams that we're looking at were the Dodgers, and you say, well, can they get to 40 wins out of 60 games? You figure maybe the last 5 or 6 games, they might catch a break because maybe the other team is out of it, but they're trying to lock up that number 1 seed. But that might not be the case now. So instead of, looking at rookies that are coming up at the end of the baseball season in September, now they're actually going to be playing their veterans because there's money if you make the playoffs, A, for the players and B, for the owners. How many times do you see in Major League Baseball? Yeah, I mean, heck, even the NBA or NHL. At the end of the season, sometimes when you're out of it, hey, let's get a look at some of these young kids. Hey, this kid's never closed a game before. Put him in Yankee Stadium and see if he can close the door. Oh, boy, he gave up 3 runs and we lost, as opposed to putting in a guy that's used to actually closing games. It's kind of interesting stuff there. We're going to take a quick 1-minute break right here. Support the good people down at Pub Sports Radio. And I'll be back right after these words. 60 seconds. Hey guys, Donnie here. Let me tell you a little bit about pubsportsradio.com. It's not just all about sports. If you like the latest in movie culture, check out the Film Room live on their YouTube channel. And also, if you like to get down, listen to a little bit of music, and certainly talk about some of the latest hits out and also some classics, check out Turn Up the Treble. But guys, I gotta tell you, if it's drinks that you're looking for, if you're thirsty, check out Southtown 101 Tequila, Beer, Vodka, and all your favorite spirits located right here at Southtown 101. But if you're hungry and you're in the mood for some burgers, wings, mozzarella sticks, and much, much more, Southtown 101 has you covered. Come check us out right here, Southtown 101, in the heart of San Antonio, located on 101 Parita Street. PubSportsRadio.com has it all for you. Food, drinks, music, movie culture, and sports. All right, a little bit from the boys down there in San Antonio. Look, everybody's struggling out there, especially food, catering businesses, industries, bars. You can't get those guys into the bar. You can't make that extra markup on the alcohol that we all know we like to do, even though there are drink specials. But I always like to support good people and people that have supported me in the past. So certainly, if you're down in the San Antonio area, check out Southtown 101. Friday, Major League Baseball thoughts. I'm going to spend some time talking about this. We'll bring up some of these lines in just a few moments. But heading into it, I wanted to take some time and talk a little bit about some betting philosophy and what I actually look at and what I use, and even some of the websites that I think can really help you out. And keep in mind, websites like they don't really help you right now because you don't have anything to go off of. I know some people say, hey, look, man, he had a really good season last year, but I'm of the belief where I need to see it happen before I can actually get after it. So, I mean, we can have fun, we could bet, and I could tell you, hey, I like the Dodgers team total over, I like the Nationals under in the first 5 innings, but I really don't have a lot of formula actually behind it because I'm a guy that likes to look at like setups of a situation. And you guys know from my past betting experiences, I do like to lean on the over, and I'm always under the adage myself when taking a look at Major League Baseball or even sports itself. Sometimes it feels like you just get lucky if the game goes under, right? Like maybe maybe it was a 1-0 game with a no-hitter, and you're like, hey, I called that. But it just seems like, you just have to avoid like second and third with 1 or no outs and, a couple pop-ups. Like, oh, man, thank God they didn't score in that inning. It just seems that way. So I like to use it to my advantage and take overs because if you have the game pegged, usually it will go your way unless you get bad beaten and then it turns into an under. But taking a look at something, Fangraphs, number one, is a really good website to use when you're betting Major League Baseball. There's a lot of stats. It's extremely overwhelming if you just go on and log in. It's a free website, but I pay the donation each and every year because I like it. I support guys that put out really good content and certainly try to put the game forward, and they're putting money in my pocket. Me giving them money is actually putting money in my pocket because I love to read statistics. And I found out over the years with Fangraphs and many other websites that I used to educate myself on the stats that make sense to me. Because even when we're talking about college basketball season, Ken Palm is phenomenal, but it's all statistical information that you have to process yourself to see what works because you can get information overload from a lot of these websites. And it's a lot of trial and error because come on, 10 years ago, right? We're still using like ERA for baseball, and we're still using batting average as a heavy indicator. We weren't using analytics in college basketball, who's on the court together, how they match up, and, percentage-wise, we weren't doing any of that. It was a lot of feel, which I still respect the old school cappers who do that, but the old school capper now is going to be successful by taking that, I'm going to watch this football game, basketball game, or baseball game with my eyes so I can see the actual stats to put behind those because I'm not one of those guys. And I know there's model guys, which look, God bless them if that's what they like to do, but don't watch the games and just count it on a, computer screen and how it actually breaks down and injuries don't matter. So if LeBron doesn't play, I'm still going with the stats for the season. I mean, there are guys out there that actually do that. I don't subscribe to that theory, but I love to use analytical stats with what the eyes match up to. So when you take a look at early in the baseball season, I want to see if we're going to use the juice baseball. So last night the ball was flying out of the ballpark for teams that can actually hit. Didn't matter who was pitching. Right? Dodgers eventually get 8 runs, and it looked like the Yankees are going to knock Scherzer out. They were on their way to 8 runs as well, especially being with a new DH. So there's some things that come into play that I do want to see. But when you're taking a look at, let's just say the lineup, and you got a good one here at 4 o'clock, by the way, with the New York Mets. Acuna, Albies, Freeman, Ozuna, Adams, D'Arnaud, Inciarte, Riley, and Swanson are expected to be a lineup. And it looks great, right? Got lefty, righty. He's still going up against Jacob deGrom. And we know about deGrom over the past couple of years, one of the true elite pitchers in Major League Baseball. But he did have a little bit of a back strain a week ago. I haven't seen him pitch yet this year. And pitching's changed year to year. Now, usually with the upper end guys that we talk about, right? The Max Scherzers of the world, you think he's going to bounce back. Garrett Cole. I mean, the elite pitchers usually stay elite pitchers. Clayton Kershaw outside of the playoffs. We like to, joke around with that. But I need to see how he's doing on the road. Like Jacob deGrom at home, hey, let's just say he has a 2.25, ERA at home, but he goes on the road and it's 3.25. And then we take a look at Soroka's young pitcher going to take the mound up at Citi Field, where maybe Soroka gets laced down in Atlanta because it's hot and humid. The ball really travels in that ballpark. Now he goes to more of a pitcher's ballpark up in Citi Field, even though it is going to be hot, 87 degrees by game time, wind actually blowing in slightly of about 5 miles an hour. But when we take a look at that game overall, both of these lineups are really, really good. Both of these pitchers are really good. Obviously, with a nod, certainly to Jacob deGrom. That's why I see them as a favorite of about minus 135, minus 145, depending on where you're shopping at. But when you take a look at some of the philosophies that I use, because I use fantasy websites also when I'm capping baseball games. I'm not a fantasy baseball player, but yes, I do play fantasy. Say, well, wait a second, you're not a fantasy player, but you play fantasy. I do it for fun. I'll look at him like, hey, this guy's hot. Eugenio Suarez, I would like him tonight. Or I'm looking at Robbie Cano to have a big game. Or Bo Bichette's going to lead off tonight. And I think he's going to have some success against Charlie Morton. I use these as a way to actually get inside of why they think those players are going to be hot. Because a lot of these things that I look at weighted on base average, as opposed to just looking at a batting average in that instance. ISO power that you could take a look at. How many times this guy strike out at the plate? Because if you're going against a pitcher like Jacob deGrom, who's going to strike an average batter out 40% of the time, and you go up there as a hitter like a Joey Gallo who strikes out 40% of the time, might not be advantageous for that night because he might not get his bat on the baseball enough to get a home run. But the same way you take a look at pitchers as well. If you're going against a lineup, like if you're a right-handed pitcher and they can stack lefties against you, or some of these hitters, they're definitely just specific hitters. They're put in the lineup because they do have success against this pitcher in the past, or they do have success against lefties or righties, or they don't hit a guy with a good fastball, or they're really good hitters against guys with off-speed stuff. All that stuff measures in. So Fangraphs is a great one. Roto Grinders is a great website. StatFox for some of the ancillary, statistics, that just the generalities. And then the two services I use, I can't even say they're services, SBRodds.com. Obviously, I do work with SBR Odds. It's a great website to use. It's completely free of charge. But I also like to take a look at some of the optics that fit my eyes with like Sports Insights. You don't want to spend a lot of money going over some of these websites and, just spending numbers. Hey, I'm just going to lean on them because, we're all the same in the pick business here. We all have different motives that we get after. We all sell picks for a different reason. We all have different trained set of eyes for specifics. I like team total overs. Hey, Donnie, I think the game's going to go under tonight. Look, that's not really what my numbers point towards when I take a look at a game. I know some people out there love to just bet favorites, minus 125, minus 135, minus 145 in that range. I get that. I do get that. I honestly get that. But if you're not used to like versatile handicapping, right? You see some guys, I got team total over for the Dodgers. I got team total under for the Giants. I got Dodgers minus 1.5. But then in the other game, I got, Nationals plus 1.5. I think you convolute everything and really mix up your brain and twist it when you try to get after too many things. So when I specialize specifically in baseball, if I get an idea of what I really like and those stats are absolutely clear that I can look at for some of these totals, I like to really get after it. I do. But just the way it is, DeGrom, we've got some stats here. Crazy ball head DeGrom in the under 4.142. What's 4.142? Oh, for today's game, I'm assuming. You think it's going to be 4-1, 4-2? Yeah, it might be some of those things there. And we got crazy ball head. There are some garbage opening to start as Tommy Milone auto fade. Yeah, see, I need to get these guys back. And also when you take a look at starting the season, I know what I really like. Like I like to look at games where I have I call them tomato cans, a tomato can pitcher. It's like you go into the store, you see the dented can of pork and beans, you see the dented can of some condensed chicken soup, and you just throw it out there on the mound and be like, dude, whatever happens, happens, and we'll see if we can get through it. Those are the advantages I like to take. But when you take a look at opening day starters, typically they're not bad, though. Soroka and DeGrom, you're trying to look at a team total. Ooh, okay. Matt Boyd had a decent year last year. Sonny Gray's on the mound today. Hyun-Jin Ryu, Charlie Morton, Alcantara, Aaron Nola. Do you want to go to team total with the Marlins versus Aaron Nola? Probably not. Shane Bieber had a decent season last year. He's on the mound to start. But you're right, Tommy, and Nathan Eovaldi, who throws really hard gas, but I think he might be able to get touched. I think maybe even Chris Davis can take Eovaldi deep into the situations here. But, hey, it's what it is. It's what everybody likes. So, got a couple minutes left in the show. We'll wrap it up. I'll be back right here after about 30 seconds, so stay tuned. Hey guys, Donnie here with SportsBookReview.com, the single best place on the internet for video and also written sports content. You've seen me do a lot of videos on our YouTube channel at SBR Sports Picks, bringing you all the latest up-to-date information. And also, if you want to win at sports betting, it's always important to get the best lines possible. So check out SBRodds.com, SportsBookReview.com. The really good people out there at sportsbookreview.com. Keep in mind also, if you want to complete access to Major League Baseball capping, both myself and Jason Radowitz, 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, right on sportsbookreview.com on their Twitter channel. Just give it a follow. We'll go live. You'll see the links. I'll even put a link up on my site. I want to say on Twitter at RightSideVP. We'll be doing it as well. Had a lot of people check into that show. More like a sprinting type show. Try to get in, try to get out, try to get the info to the people. Certainly include the chat boxes and have a lot doing so. Marlins have been hitting in preseason. Look, the Marlins have been smashed the Phillies up last year. That's the reason why the Phillies stunk in the second half of the season, couldn't beat the actual Marlins out there on the field. But it's going to be hot in Philadelphia. It's going to be sticky. Just outside the city, it is rainy, it is overcast. So hopefully that all does clear up. But this has been the Friday show of Sports Betting with Donnie, presented by RightWager.com in its annual week. Thursday and Friday, a lot of you guys will watch the show from a rebroadcast and watch it maybe later in the day. If you're watching there on Periscope, Twitter, Facebook, whatever it is, or even on YouTube, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button below, turn on the notifications. I'm trying to build this channel from 386 to 10,386. And the faster we can do that, the better it will be. So have yourself a good day. Have yourself a good weekend. I will be back on at 1:30 p.m. on SBR to break down Major League Baseball. Also might even come back on a little bit later tonight. Maybe a little bit of live action on the Phillies as the Phillies open their baseball season tonight versus the Marlins. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll be back on Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Don't miss the show. Thanks once again.